Assalamualaikum everyone. To continue our topic this getting the and I hope all see my slide. In the previous lecture, we learned about the OFT, right? I'm talking about the OFT. So OFT is actually a behavioral ecological model that helps to predict how an animal behaves when searching for food. Okay, so in this theory, they will help the animal to predict the best strategy for the animal to use to achieve the goal. So the goal we have in this theory is to have the maximizations of the energy and minimizations of the time. Okay, if you remember in our previous lecture. So the theory assumes that natural selections act on the foraging behavior of animals to maximize their energy. Okay, so profitability. So profitability of a food item we call as a P. Okay, P here actually depends on how much energy the animal gets from the food to the amount of time, which is the time the animal spend in obtaining the food. Okay, so maximizing the energy gain. So optimal foraging maximize the energy gain per unit time. So and the gain rate of energy gain is actually equal of the energy gain to divide by the time spent. So the energy gain here is actually related to the food quality that the animals get, which is the size of the food, the nutritional content of the food, and also the lactoxin of the food, and etc. While the time spent here is actually refers to the expected searching time plus the handling time, okay, which is the pursuit, the eating, and also the digesting of the food. All of this is actually in the time spent, and the animal should pick the prey with the maximal E over T, which is the animal should pick the maximized rate of energy gain. Okay, so for example in here, so as you can see from this graph, so this is 5 ml, 6 millimeter of the size of the prey, right? And here is the handling time. Okay, so as you can see from this bar chart, so this is for example for about 5 mm of uh, length prey, so the 6, 7, 8, okay, 9 and 10. Okay, so this is the percentage frequencies of flies available, and even though the larger prey 8 mm, the larger prey, they have the most abundant, okay, prey for the pied tail, but the pied tail eat most frequently for about 7 millimeter long. Okay, so this is actually not basically about the size of the prey. Okay, the animals don't choose the larger prey, but they are choosing the prey that can give them the maximum energy gain and less time spent. Okay. Okay, sorry. We start. Okay. Um, okay, so generalizations in optimal foraging. Searches, we have two searches and handlers. So searches is those animals that spend more energy on finding the prey than overcoming the prey. Okay, so these animals should be generalists. Okay, opposite to the handlers. Handlers is the animal that spend more energy on overcoming their prey, and this handler should be the specialists, as they need to be specific adaptations for handling the prey. For example, wolf, lions. Okay, this is the animals that specialists, which is handlers. They spend more time on overcoming the prey. compared to the searchers, they spend more time on finding the prey. For example, insectivores, birds. Okay, so this is the examples of searchers, the hollow monkeys. So the hollow monkeys, they are feed on the fruits, flowers, and leaf. And 96% species present in the study area. Okay, and 25% of them, they are foraging on the three rarest of species. Okay, they are selected their food. Okay, so test of the model. So benefit may incorporate the net energy gain, time spent feeding, or risk of predations. And if optimal foraging is an adaptation to the limited benefits to the survival and also the benefit to the reproductions of the animals. Okay, so the effect of prey density. Okay, so expected searching time is proportional to 1 over prey density, and the choice of the searching time should depend on handling time, energy gain, and also the searching time. And it should be less choosy when the prey are scarce. Okay, and the organism normally they will should eat no food, poor food, no matter how abundant the food is. Okay, but they are starting to eat the poor food when the preferred item get sufficiently rare. So the organism will eat the preferred food first. Okay, even though the poor food they have a lot abundant, they have the highest density in their site. Okay, in the habitat, but they will eat the preferred food first. But when the preferred item, the preferred food sufficiently will get rare, so they will start to eat the poor food. So this the effects of the prey density. Okay, for example, in the foraging behavior by the blue sunfish. So the early winner, they fed the Daphnia. Okay, this is the prey, the Daphnia to the blue gill sunfish. So and he predicted that if he gave the blue gill sunfish with a low density prey, so they should eat anything. But if he gave the British sunfish a higher density of the Daphnia, they should more and more become specialists on just better or larger Daphnia. So this is the effect on the density of the prey. Okay, as you can see from this graph, so this is actually fit with the test. Okay, where the first situation is where there is a rare prey, the low density of the prey, and this is the situation where they have the high density of the prey. So when the density of the prey are low, okay, so the blue sunfish will eat anything. But if the density of the prey are high, okay, they only will eat selected size of species. Okay, they will become more specialist. They will eat only larger or better Daphnia. Okay, so just now is the effect of density. Okay, so this is the effect of profitability on food selections. So in the study of a great teeth, okay, just now they use the blue sunfish, and now they use the great teeth. So the proportions of prey types and encounter rates were varied. Okay, so the time it took birds to subdue and consume the prey, okay, we call as the handling time will be measured. Okay, they measured the handling time, and the model correctly predicted, okay, consumption rate of the large mealworms as the profitability of prey item varied. Okay, for example, more profitability of the prey, which is more selections of large prey. Okay, so the profitability of the food items actually depends on how much energy the animal will get from the food, and also relative to the time spent, which is handling time. So the other example, which is oyster catchers, okay, birds. Oyster catchers are forage on mussels and crack them open with their bills. Okay, so the constraints of these birds, the oyster catchers, are the characteristic of different muscle sizes. So muscle sizes here is a prey. So while large muscles provide more energy, so large muscle will provide more energy, right? right, than the small mussels, but the large mussels are harder to crack open due to their thicker shells. So this means that while the large mussels have a higher energy content, but they also will have longer handling time. Uh, so a field study of the oyster catcher, it shows that the birds will select item in specific size range, even though they will have the larger mussels, but they will select their specific item range. While the small bivalve do not provide enough energy to offset the energy needed to find and open them, but the largest bivalve are too difficult to open. That is why they are select the specific size range. Okay. So we go to the predation and optimal foraging. Okay. So foraging is not about eating only, okay, but it is about avoiding being eaten by their own predators. Okay, for example, the bluegills does not use the habitat of optimally from the point of view of energy gain, but the bluegill will combine the energy gain and with the mortality risk. Okay, and the bluegills use the habitat differently, which is suboptimally when the predator, okay, pipe up present. Okay, so the balancing of mortality versus energy gain make it harder to predict how animals should forage optimally. So the behavior like this will create the indirect links with the food web, which is the presence of a top predator affect the predator-prey relationships lower in the change. Okay. So we go to the marginal value theorem. So it had been introduced by Karnov in 1976. So we are talking just now about the profitability. So if P is actually equal to the E energy gain, uh, uh, and it relatively effect with the T, which is time handling. So an animal should leave the food patch when the P, which is the current patch, is equal to the P, which is all patches, and divide to the numbers of patches. So the marginal value theorem is actually to determine how long an animal should stay in a patch. Okay, so we go to the mathematically inclined. Okay, so as you can see from this first figure, so on our left hand side is the travel time, and our right hand side is the time spent in the patch. So the gain, so this is the energy gain or the food intake. So the gain drop off as the patch is depleted. Okay, so here is the travel time. So this is where the animals are spend time in a patch. Okay, so this is the spend time, time spent in a patch. So this is where the animal live. Okay, leave the patch. Okay, so this is the maximum gain, maximum net gain. So as you can see, so here, okay, so here this is a graph. So as you can see from here, if the travel time is short, so the animal will leave the patch earlier compared to the animals who have longer travel time. So they will stay in the patch in a longer time, and you will and it will leave the patch in the next time. Okay, not in earlier time. So this is the maximum net gain for the short trip, and this is the maximum net gain for a short trip. So you can see here that calculus would play a big role in order for them to decide when the animal should leave the patch. Okay, so this is about the slope of curve at a given point, which is this is the point where the animal will get the maximum net gain. Okay, sorry. So an animal should stay in the patch until the rate of energy gain has declined to match up the average rate for the whole habitat. So we call it as the giving up time. Okay. So giving up time will also influenced by distance between the patches. Okay, as you can see from here. So this is just now we're talking about the leaf leave the patch, right? The giving up time. So they are actually depends on the time travel. Okay, the shorter time travel, which means the giving up time is earlier compared to the longer time travels. Okay, so they also will spend less time in the patch compared to the longer species that spend more time in the patch. Okay, so example one, the longer the travel time between the food patches, the longer an animal should spend in the patch, right? So COVID 1977, it tests this in lab experiment with the great tips. So a forest of a wooden dowel contain food patches of a plastic cup containing the mealworms. Okay, so the travel time in this experiment was manipulated by covering the food cups and adjusting ease of the mealworm removal. So this result of this experiment is match predicted by the theorem very well, which is longer travel time between the food patches, so the longer animal should spend in the patch. Okay, so this is the experiment had been done. Okay, as you can see from here, this is the prediction. Okay, the predicted, which is the longer travel time. Okay, the animal spend and the longer time will spend in the patch. So this is the predicted. So the brown bullet here, it shows that it are matched with the theorem. Okay, so it will mean the great ticks are spend more time in the patch while they are spending more time travel within the patches. Okay, so optimal foraging theory does not apply as well as animal that feed on the mobile prey. Okay, so the assumption the energy is in short supply and that this dictators foraging behavior may not always hold. Okay, so the theorem that fed well is actually for the animals that search for the immobile prey. Okay, and resources other than energy can be important, such as nitrogen or sodium content of food. So for foragers, for animals that search for food, so the risk of exposure to their own predators is also important. Okay, beside they are considering the time spent on the patch, the time spent for searching for food, okay, the time spent for the for the travel time, search for food. So they also need to consider about the predators. Okay, and the trade-off that affect foraging decision may be related to predators. Okay, beside the predators, they also uh, they also affect the affect by the environmental conditions or physiological conditions. Okay, example two. We're talking about the elk. Okay, so this is the presence of wolf affected foraging behavior of elk. Okay, normally the the foraging behavior of elk are fit with the theorem. But if there is a presence of the wolf, then it will affect the foraging behavior. Okay, so the radio colors were used to track the elk movement, and when the wolf were present, so elk will move into the forest, which is had more protections but less food. Okay, so as you can see from this figure, okay, okay, so this is the elk change where they fit in the response to the wolf. So this is where the wolf are present. So this is the wolf are absent. So this is where the location elk were killed by the wolf. Okay, so you see from this graph. So this is the movement response of males and also females. Okay, so the red color is actually the same the habitat of grassland, but the blue color is the habitat of conifer forest. So when the wolf arrive here in both sex, animals and females, so the elk will move into the forest. Okay, in both habitat, when the wolf arrive, they will move into the forest, and while the wolf are depart, okay, then they will move back to the habitat that have a more food. Okay, so you can see from here in both habitat, in both sexes, when there are presence of the wolf, then those animals will move into the forest that had more protection, but have less food found. Okay, so the theorem kind of fix in this forage behavior because there are a presence of the predator. So we move to the example 3. Okay, so the small in the blue gill sunfish. So small blue gill sunfish were found to spend more time foraging in the vegetations, okay, vegetation habitat, if a predator was present, and which provided only 1/3 of food of the open habitat. So this is open habitat. Okay. So in the habitat they have abundant of food, abundant of apa? Abundant of energy they can find here. But if there are presence of the predator, okay, so they will move to the vegetation habitat, even though the vegetation habitat only have 1/3 of food, okay, compared to this habitat. But this vegetation habitat will provide protections to the bluegill sunfish, okay. But if there is a larger bluegill sunfish, which is the size is too large to be eaten by the predator, so the forage behavior is always predicted by the optimal foraging theory. Okay, it will goes to the same, it will fit to the optimal foraging theory. Okay, where they will spend much time, more time in the patch when they are spending more time traveling to search for the food. Okay, so this shows that the trade-off that affect the foraging decision. Okay, decision where to leave the patch or not. The the decisions of the animals, okay, to leave the patch or not is actually related to the predators. And beside the predators, it also related. Just now I'm talking about the related with the environmental conditions or physiological conditions. Okay. Okay, so we move to the human foraging and fisheries management. So human foragings, humans are a top predator in most communities. Okay, so our effect can trickle down the food chain and affect many lower trophic levels. And our foraging of fish, it fits well into optimal foraging models because we are very choosy. Right, we always like to eat the seafood, okay, and we sometimes switch our preference when the seafood that we like, okay, that when our favorites are nearly extinct. So this is why we're talking about our foraging behavior fits well into optimal foraging models. So, optimal whale foraging between 1920 to 1970, whalers are targeted progressively the smaller whales, okay, as large whales are become too rare. And the first blue whales, okay, first they are most likely to catch the blue whales, then humpbacks, okay, then fin, then humpback whales, then sin whale, then beak whales. So there's the the whales also they have a targeted catch, okay, for the whales. Amount of fish caught, okay, so fishing has steadily increased, okay, in numbers, as you can see from this graph, okay, from year to years. So it is caused by increasing of human populations and also the interest in healthy diet, okay, because we know that fish is actually filled of omega-3 fatty acids, okay, which is also filled with vitamin D, and also fish are also rich in calcium, phosphorus, and also fish are also a great source of minerals. We know that in fish they will have iron, zinc, iodine, maximum, and magnesiums and also potassiums. Okay, this is why the fishing has been increased year by year. the amount of fish caught are higher year by year. All right. So the efficiency and large scale fisheries. So we will have the economic efficiency, which is up to 100 tons of fish, which is for about $15,000. Okay, of the economic we can get from the fisheries. Okay, for about 150 dollar per ton, and up to 2 ton can get more to $1,000 profits for about $1,500 per ton. So this is the efficiency and large scale fisheries. The affect the economic human economic. Okay. So currency in human foraging. Optimal foraging theory is different for human due to the fact that cost and benefit of searching for rare prey are different. Okay, because human we have a lot of tools that we use. Okay, and also we also go through the improvisations, and also we have different techniques. Okay, so in a fish species is highly desirable, so the price of it can goes up. Okay, if there is more demand, so the fish also the fish price can goes up. Okay, so bycatch and effects on fisheries. So bycatch is referred to species caught but not intentionally targeted by the fishery. Okay, they are caught by the fishery but they are not intentionally caught by the fishery. Okay, for example in the shrimp fish, okay, in one caught, okay, they have a highest bycatch target ratio. Okay, which is the target ratio, which is shrimp, is only 1 kg, but the bycatch it can be up to 10 kilo. Okay, 10 kilo bycatch. Okay, and some of this bycatch is a red snapper. Okay, so they will get highest numbers of bycatch compared to the target ratio. And other changes in fish populations. Okay, so this is the changes of fish populations year by year. So not only are fish less numerous, but they are also smaller in size. And fishers are selectively target on large fish, thereby reducing the reproductive output of the populations. Okay, because humans, okay, we know that we are on the top predator, so we always caught the preference species. Okay, and eating our way down the food change. So the preferred fish are top predators by the humans, and top predators naturally have low population of number. Okay, they have low population by number year by year. And when top predator supplies are exhausted, then human will typically start fishing for a member of lower trophic level. So this is the fishery impacts on coral. So feeding down the food change in Caribbeans, okay, had led there to be an increase in algae. So the algae block the sunlight. Okay, the algae will block the sunlight and will cause a shift in coral community towards a fast-growing species. Okay, so they will arise a situation of algal blooms. Okay, which is the excess nutrients will promote the growth of algae, which can kill the corals by smothering them. Blocking their access to sunlight can promoting the growth of harmful bacteria. So the water quality and fisheries, okay. So the Chesapeake Bay oyster, so this oyster can control the algae bloom, okay, that caused just now by using the extracting plankton from the water. But over exploitations of this oyster can cause the density decline. So it will result in far greater planktonic productivity. So algae bloom, so this situation is not good because the algae bloom will reduce the oxygen in the water and resulting in fish kills. So for the summary, so optimal foraging models indicate that the species must forage to maximize energy gain and minimize the time spent. So that is why even though the prey they have different sizes or the larger sizes, but each animals they will select only a specific size of the prey in order for them to get the maximum net gain. Okay, net gain of energy. So the second bullet is the density of both lower and higher trophic levels alter the optimal foraging dynamics of species. So both density, okay, lower and higher trophic level will balance the optimal foraging dynamics of species. And lastly, human beings optimally forage on fish species in the world and are threatening their existence. Okay, because fish will provide us with vitamin, with minerals. All right, so that's all for me for today. So I'll see you guys in the next class. Okay, thank you. Assalamualaikum.